This podcast is brought to you by Craft Beer and Brewing Magazine for those that love to make and drink great beer. To learn more or to subscribe, visit beerandbrewing.com or find us on social media at Craft Beer Brew. We are in Bend, Oregon for this episode of the podcast. It's Craft Beer Brewing Podcast. I'm Jamie Bogner. And joining me for this one, once again, Tonya Cornett. Welcome back, Tonya.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And also joining us, Ian Larkin. Welcome, Ian.
Hey, thanks for having me.
We are at this brewery called Up Liquids, and there is an interesting story about it that every reader of our brewing industry guide now has in their inbox. Check out that cover story on Up Liquids. It is an excellent one, and it is such a fun brewery down here, a sprawling brewery, much larger than it seems from the parking lot out front, and multiple patios, games, and you all obviously have an interesting history and path that got you here. Last time we talked to Tonya, you were at 10 Barrel, and then, as folks have followed along, had some amazing stuff happen. You had a year there, I think it was World Beer Cup, where you ran the entire category, won all 3 medals in the Berliner Weiss category. In 2024, won the Russell Share Award for Innovation in Brewing. And, Tilray had bought 10 Barrel and then decides to fire everybody. And literally what I think, in my personal opinion, is one of the stupidest decisions in the history of brewing acquisitions. It's like you buy the Yankees and fire Babe Ruth, literally one of the, not even trade them, just let them off their contract and go. It is an unfathomably stupid decision on their part. And you don't have to agree with me. We can just be quiet on this one, but that's my personal opinion about it.
I agree, but this is also not Ian.
Yes. We do love our 10 Barrel family, though. They come
100%.
in, they support us, they help us out so much. So in the whole scheme of things, we're very lucky to have them.
And you've been building new family here over at Up Liquids. There's an interesting story about how Up came to be. It was an existing brewery. You all came on as partners, and now are charting a new path forward. And again, everybody who wants all the details on that could just go read the Brewing Industry Guide
Exactly.
story.
It's all in there.
All in there. But in the meantime, should note, the other thing that happened in 2024, that beer that you designed, the Crush series and Cucumber Crush, I think scored, I don't remember exactly, it's either 99 or 100 with our blind panel. And it was a beer of the year in craft beer and brewing that year. It was just an absolute phenomenon.
I was so happy about that. That just, it was a nice kind of thing to happen after so much bad had happened. We really felt like the carpet had been pulled out from under us, and that was a nice little just exclamation to that.
And we made a trophy for 10 Barrel, but I also made an extra trophy just for you, just because. Anyway, at the GABF last year, you guys came out firing 5 medals, 2 golds, 2 silvers, 1 bronze across, obviously, the category that you're probably most well known for in the kind of Goza Berliner Weiss realm, but also Imperial Stout in there, and that reduction ratio. Also won a World Beer Cup this year, won a silver as well as Up Yours. 2 of those beers won medals at both World Beer Cup and at GABF. And so, here you are, just wasting no time getting back to those medal winning ways.
It's just in our DNA. This is just what we do.
We kept the team together, so it's what we do.
All right, well, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about, obviously, making some of these, what has happened over the last 4 years, how things have moved on the brewing side for you, also what it looks like now in the Up Liquids kind of context. And we're certainly going to get into that competitive brain of yours, because from what I understand, you all are working on your GABF entries today.
Yep, brewed my first one today.
Trying to figure all of that out. And so, naturally, we're going to have to talk about what it takes to plan around that and to make beers that stand out in that context that, but ideally also connect with consumers. It's one thing to win a medal for a beer, but if you win a medal for a beer that no one really wants to buy or drink, it doesn't really help you as a business that much. And, and so you all have found a way to win in categories with beers that consumers are also interested in.
Right. And it's definitely a different challenge here than it was at 10 Barrel. At 10 Barrel, what did we have? Like 16 tanks or something like that. And we weren't responsible for any of the core brands. So we could make duplicate batches and choose the best one and not really have to worry about it because we had multiple pubs. So the beer was going to sell. But here we have to really think about timing. When's this beer going to be at its peak? Are we going to have too many light beers? Are we going to have too many sours? Sours are nice because they have a long shelf life. So we can kind of deal with that a little bit easier than we can with kind of redundant styles.
Sure. Well, let's talk about all of that. And I would note that we are sitting out on the back patio, and there's definitely some noise going on behind us, but there's not a quiet place in this brewery, and it's a Friday afternoon, and people are coming in and drinking beer. So I think it sounds pretty good. But yeah, if we have some noise, just deal with it because it's going to sound good. Anyway, let's catch up from from our last conversation in 22 to the present. Catch us up on that history. But before we do.
Hey there, Justin from G&D Chillers. Sustainability isn't just a buzzword, it's a necessity for breweries today. That's why we've engineered solutions like the Elite 290 Micro Series, running on natural refrigerants with near zero GWP.
That's right, G&D's new Elite 290 Micro Series is built for brewers who care about sustainability and performance. It runs on a natural refrigerant with near zero global warming potential, has a compact footprint, and features variable speed fans for efficiency. They've chilled beer for over 3,000 breweries across North America, and with 24/7 support and remote monitoring, your cold side stays dialed in day or night. Get the details on natural refrigerant technology at gdchillers.com/podcast. And here's a brewer's nightmare. It's the night before packaging. You walk into the brewery straight to the tank. You pull a sample to do a forced diacetyl test, and you wait for it in silence. Something feels not quite right. You reach into the water bath and bring the flask to your nose, and it's a butter bomb. The logistics start running through your head. Do we hold the tank? Do we have accounts? We have accounts waiting. How many days until it clears? And then you wake up and remember that you use Berkeley Yeast's Fresh Chico. It's got ALDC inside every cell, so diacetyl can't even form in the first place. Through dry hopping and hop creep, diacetyl stays ultra low, so you don't have to add ALDC or wait for diacetyl to clean up. And most importantly, you don't have to wake up in a cold sweat worrying about scary stories like these. Fresh Chico is now available in dried bricks for as low as $88 at berkeleyyeast.com. Also, this episode is sponsored by PackTech, delivering craft beer multi-packing you can trust. PackTech's handles are made from 100% recycled plastic and are fully recyclable, helping breweries close the loop and advance the circular economy. With a minimalist design, durable functionality you can rely on, and custom color matching, PackTech helps brands stand out while staying sustainable. Trusted by craft brewers nationwide, they offer a smarter, sustainable way to carry your beer. To learn more, visit packtech-opi.com. That's PAKTECH-OPI.com. So yeah, Tonya, last time I came down to Bend, I was here for one night, just here to do a podcast with you, and it was amazing. Literally, I when I came into that, I had didn't know what to expect, and you had pages and pages of notes and brew logs, and you were quite possibly the most single prepared brewer that I had ever talked to up to that point. And I tried to let you off the hook so you didn't have to prepare to that kind of degree because you're busy. You guys are doing a lot over here. I don't want to stress you out. And
I appreciate that.
But catch us up on the last 4 years.
The last 4 years?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we really lucked into joining the immersion team. They were ready for a change. We were able to rebrand under the name.
Immersion was the previous name of this brewery.
Exactly. So they started off with, the You Brew It type setup. Yeah. They also had a brewery behind that, but most people didn't realize that the brewery was there. So it's one of those things that they were ready for a change. We needed a brewery that desperately. We were hounding everyone in town. Exactly. We had been off for almost a year and just couldn't wait to get back in the brewery. And they basically just said, join our team, do whatever you want in the brewery, and let us kind of take over.
Yeah, we're super, super fortunate to walk into a partnership like this. Obviously, starting a new brewery, SDC charges, everything that comes with starting a brewery in Bend is extremely expensive. So it was super fortunate for us to team up with the previous owners of Immersion and Rebrand and start our new venture.
Yeah, it's been really nice. I mean, they literally had everything we needed. I think we bought some like miscellaneous parts, but it's been smooth sailing. We also have a banquet and event space, and just to think about like all of the tables different size tables, all the linens, like all the stuff. I think about that every time we put those out, and it's like they were all here. All the little things were already here.
And so the owner then of Immersion was was in a situation where needed some partners to come in, and you all came in even with an ownership stake in this.
Yeah, so I don't know if they necessarily needed a partner or were looking for a partner. They just kind of stumbled upon us.
Yeah.
Or we stumbled upon them begging for brewery space, which is how the conversation started. We knew the previous brewer. He worked at 10 Barrel. We were good friends. We were coming in a lot. He said, I have 2 fermenters open that you can fill. And it just kind of escalated the conversation from there.
Sure.
Yeah. So we're super excited to be here.
So then tell, what does that look like? Like, what of the former 10 Barrel R&D team is now here? The 2 of you?
Yes, and 2 others. Yeah.
So 4 of you all came over here.
Yeah. So we were definitely a lot to take in because we're used to working with each other. We're used to working really hard. I think our communication style is maybe a little more blunt than the rest of the staff was used to, but now they like us.
A year later.
Yeah.
So how is that kind of transition? Now, there's expectations for beers that you all make, and there were customers here who had their own expectations, and then figuring out where some, I wouldn't even call it happy medium, but what some like delightful mix might be, has to have been a fun project over the last year.
Actually, it was pretty easy because what we did at 10 Barrel was provide variety. We had 22 and 24 taps at different pubs. So our job was the core brands were already made. We just filled in the gaps and made sure that there was something for everyone. So basically, we're just carrying that same kind of ethos here. And we've kind of stumbled upon like 4 or 5 cores that have resonated with people that we keep on all the time. And that just kind of happened by happenstance. We didn't really think starting off when we first brewed those beers that they would necessarily be cores. We were leaving ourselves open to change, and as it turned out, they worked.
What had those cores become?
So a hazy.
First up, hazy IPA, Uplift, West Coast IPA,
Ariba Mexican
lager,
Pinball Wizard, which is an oatmeal stout. And then Chasing Sunsets.
Yes, which is a sour with ginger and yuzu.
Ginger and yuzu.
It's delicious.
It's so on trend now this year, too.
It is. Trendy flavors, and it sells great in the summer. It's super refreshing.
So how has the process been of learning the new brew house and, bringing those things over? Because you had some, well-defined processes and approaches at the old brewery. And had to be a fun, there's every act of moving into a new brew house involves learning that new brewery, that new cellar.
Absolutely. Every system has its own quirks. Surprisingly, our previous recipes, which obviously we're doing tweaks on them, updating them, doing the things that we wanted to do always, it translated really well onto the system. Efficiency was very similar. We did not struggle other than having to do a few modifications for some special things we do when we want to do sours, or say we want a cool whirlpool. We had to adjust a few things, but it really wasn't that hard.
Yeah, it was pretty minor. I think, we do miss kind of the conveniences of a large brewery. we don't have a forklift. We don't have a PD pump.
that's
Like
true.
all the bells and whistles that we could just borrow from production, we don't have that anymore. So yeah, it's been a little bit of an adjustment, but not much.
I'm the forklift.
Yeah,
Your walk-in coolers aren't quite as big over here as they once were.
definitely not.
That is a struggle right now.
I miss that beer library that I left there.
So, so then what kind of volume are you now producing over here? And-
So,
yeah.
when we took over, I believe there was around 250, 300 barrels a year, and we are shooting for hopefully breaking 1,000 this year.
Wow.
So,
That is a breakneck pace for a 1 year,
yes.
500% increase in production.
Yeah, we've had to buy more cooperage three times
times,
already in the last year because we're putting a lot of beer out there on the market in hopes that it's going to bring more people into the pub. The pub's great space, but you really got to kind of push your brand, push your identity out there in the world in order to bring them back in.
Yeah, and we're really kind of looking at that as a marketing expense. Like we aren't making a ton of money on that, especially on cans, as everyone knows, but we're just trying to pique people's interest. So hopefully when they visit Bend, they'll come for the afternoon and maybe even a couple times while they're here.
And Bend is a competitive beer market. It's
We are full of great breweries.
Yes.
full of great breweries. But as a result, like all the beer always has to be like, making great beer is just table stakes here in Bend.
Exactly. And I think we have seen that when you don't make great beer, you kind of get weeded out pretty quickly unless you have pretty deep pockets.
For sure. And that was part of our whole business model was to try to get the brewing community back together. I mean, maybe the brewery community was never really broken up, but we were.
Yeah, we weren't a part of it.
We weren't a part of it because of being owned by AB and then being owned by Tilray. We couldn't play with the cool kids all the time. So it was part of our name being being uniting people in places was we really wanted to unite the brewers back together. So we're trying really hard to do a lot of collaborations, have a lot of brewing events here at our location. It's a lot to juggle as we're growing, but we're certainly pushing that direction and trying to make it so that Central Oregon is a friendly brewing community.
That's a noble cause and a beautiful one. Well, let's talk about some of the beers themselves. Before we do that, Oregon Hop Country is heaven to world-class lager varieties, and Indie Hops is proud to have introduced Oregon's newest lager hop, Lorien, in 2022. Lorien is in a growing list of beers that have found their way to the podium and, more importantly, into the hearts of lager lovers across the country. Discover Indie Hops Lorien. Side effects may include rampant festivity, sales bumps, and exceeded expectations. Indie Hops, life is short. Let's make it flavorful. And this podcast is sponsored by the Midea 50/50 Flex, the industry's first dual-compartment three-way convertible freezer. The 50/50 Flex is designed to flex with your life. It can convert to all fridge, all freezer, or half and half with just the touch of a button. Plus, with reversible doors and adjustable storage compartments, you can stay organized no matter your food storage needs. The 50/50 Flex is also designed to maintain a stable temperature even in non-climate controlled spaces, so it's perfect for your garage, man cave, or wherever you need a little more space. Maybe use all 20 cubic feet as a beer fridge. Check out midea.com/US for more information on how to take your beer storage to the next level. So what beer should we talk about first, Tonya? I know you've got some brew sheets there. I know you've been giving this a little bit of thought because you can't not prepare for this.
Exactly. I had to know kind of what we were talking about. And I think we decided this morning to talk about Pinball Wizard, which is the oatmeal stout that I've been working on. And it was definitely the first beer that we were super surprised that became a core.
Yeah.
People have resonated with this beer. They love this beer. They're almost kind of fanatical about it. We thought about not brewing it in the summer.
The brand connects to the place itself because you have lots of pinball machines there. And so it all kind of ties in together.
Exactly. We actually have the best pinball machines in town, so we're pretty proud of that. And everyone here has become pinners as a result. but it's a super fun thing that has kind of started to become part of our identity, which we love.
So oatmeal stout, and it's now a year-round thing. You're even making it in the summertime.
We're even canning it in the summer. Like people
Really?
are buying it in the summer, which blows my mind.
Yeah, it turns out there's a market out there for dark beers. I think over the years, everybody jumping on the IPA bandwagon. Sure, it's gonna be your top seller at your pub, of course, but turns out there are a lot of beer bars, restaurants out there that are like, we need a dark beer. And, we came out with a high quality one. They're
There's
like,
this other
we'll
big
take
brewery
it.
here in Bend that does make a certain porter. That,
Yeah, exactly.
But not everybody wants to have.
And I think they
that
kicked
beer.
open the doors for
Absolutely.
a lot of breweries to put out a dark beer. And yeah.
Yeah, I actually think that we've been pretty fortunate. Our West Coast, which is called Uplift, has been selling like crazy. So I don't know if it's the novelty because we're new or if people just love it. But I love it. But it has definitely resonated with accounts, surprisingly, I think, because of that. Because there are so much amazing IPAs in Oregon. It's hard to get that IPA slot.
Right.
So we've been fortunate in that, but definitely Pinball has been the surprise.
So tell me about working on Pinball and getting this beer to be the thing that can be a year-round dark beer in a place like Bend, where in the summertime, it's in the
gets hot.
mid to high 90s, like it's 30 C yesterday.
Yes.
It's a pretty warm place and dry and hot. So drinking one of these in the summertime is unusual, but also, just because it's dark doesn't mean it's a wintertime thing.
Exactly. I will say that we did do a Mexican dark lager as well, and that's kind of
That's taken
Taken
off
over.
since the temperatures have increased. But as far as pinball goes, like Tonya really built a lot of depth into that beer.
Yeah, and it's been a work in progress. Let's see, what was the most recent competition it won? North American Beer Awards, maybe?
Yep.
And someone was on that judge, no, it was OBA. Someone was on that judge panel who had it like the first time I brewed it. And they're like, Tonya, when we had that the first time, I was just thinking it was rough. And then sitting at that judge table, I would have never known that was your beer. And it was so much better. So, everything's a work in progress.
What's that iteration process? Where was it? And what were some of the kind of levers that you started to pull to smooth it out and, and kind of hone it into what it is now?
I think that it was, for an oatmeal stout, it was just really roasty. And so pulling back on the roast, adding some sweetness in there. I think we're still kind of working on that a little bit. But one of the cool things that I have kind of come across was from Ryan at Wild Fields, which is bringing that pH up a tad bit. So knockout is around the 5.4 mark. And I really do feel like it's smoothed that roast out.
Yeah. That lower pH just sharpened it up too much.
Yes, exactly.
Are there some things with malt, choices, or how some of those mid-layer of malts that you use to build a spectrum there, or some way that you've adjusted hopping in order to make sure that those hops are complementing that kind of roasty flavor?
Yeah, I think this is kind of like, I look at the malt bill and it's almost like a kitchen sink, which I hate. But we have
You got a homebrew recipe there, Tonya.
Yeah, it's like filling in the gaps. Like every time we enter in a competition, like getting the notes back, figuring out, it's too roasty, it's too toasty, it's not sweet enough, it needs more caramel sweetness, it's too dry, like whatever it is, like adding something to counterbalance that. And so it is a bit of a kitchen sink, but it's a workable kitchen sink.
Any particular malts that you found to work really well in that low? And I think when you're talking about sweetness and this is a reasonably low, what's the percentage in the 5 range or?
No, it's
ABV?
Yeah, what is the ABV?
I think it's
6.2.
6.2.
Yeah,
6.2.
something like that.
So not too far off.
Yeah.
But with a beer like this, you want it to be drinkable, and so it needs to have more perceived sweetness than actual sweetness, and kind of like turning that switch in people's brains and allowing it to initially be sweet, but then finish dry enough that they want to keep drinking it, becomes the real trick in a beer of that size.
Yeah. I also think building in some body has helped this beer a lot. I think in the beginning it had too much roast, it was too dry, and yes, I could have entered it in a different stout category and it would have done just fine, but I really wanted it to be an oatmeal stout, and I think building in, at least for us, I think the system brews a little bit thin, and so I added in just a little bit of spelt to give it some weight.
Yeah.
That's really it.
Just spelt.
There's nothing special about this recipe at all.
Anything to the way you work on water on this?
Well, that's what Tonya was getting at with actually bringing that pH up, which you were using pickling salts on that. Pickling lime.
You could also add potassium bicarbonate as well. It would just probably take
a bit more. As far as like middle sweetness, we're always fans of Simpson malt, like Simpson Crystal Medium, Simpson Crystal Dark. It's good shit.
Yes,
everybody knows that.
Exactly. Those are our crystals of choice. Love those guys. And I would say I add just a little bit of Wireman chocolate rye because I think the little tiny bit of spiciness kind of adds to the depth of that beer.
It's like a round spice. It's not offensive in any way.
I think people tend to associate rye with spice, and that is there, but I think it also often brings a little bit of fruitiness along with that spice, and I think those two things and kind of complements the yeast ester production in something like this, and again, builds that kind of roundness to it.
And for yeast, we use a hazy strain.
Really?
So London.
Yeah. I mean,
it's what we had on hand when we first started, and it works.
We're like, it's kind of an English strain. Let's go with it. Yeah. And worked out great. Finished where we wanted it to. We did have to tweak the mash temp couple of times because it wanted to over ferment, but we got that dialed now.
And where do you like that to finish at in a kind of a Plato realm?
We like it to finish around the 5 Plato.
5 Plato.
So a little high.
It sounds high, but I mean, it doesn't drink like that. It doesn't
drink it. And, I basically was shooting for 3.5 in the beginning, and I think that was part of the astringency issue. Yeah. And then after talking to some of my friends in Portland, they're like, oh, we're in the 5 to 6 range. And that kind of opened my eyes a little bit because theirs didn't drink super sweet. And I think it just depends on the beer. Those numbers can be a bit deceiving.
Yeah. And people aren't looking at the calorie content on their oatmeal stout, thankfully.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anything else, to this one?
There really isn't. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. We add Northern Brewer. I mean, the hops are secondary. So basically, it's a single hop.
We like to use Northern Brewer when it comes to we just need something.
Yes.
Something.
It's our go-to.
It's our go-to,
generic.
Neutral hop bitterness. Yeah. Love it.
And then just an initial bittering, or does that get sprinkled in through the brew?
Yeah, it does. There's 2 different editions, a 60-minute and a 30-minute. I think Northern Brewer is probably old school, but it's one of those tools that we've had in our back pocket for a really long time, and it's easy just to sub in when we don't really need a huge hop contribution.
Right.
Sure.
I tend to think that a lot of new brewers get hung up on new hops. Like, what's the latest and greatest? So cool. Oh, it's got a cool name. You got to remember, these hops that have been around forever are super stable as far as how they're going to come across no matter what lot you get. And when it comes to a beer like this, you want
they're super stable because they grow so little.
Exactly. It's probably
there's only 3 or 4 lots of this available
the same
out
damn
there.
Strain from forever ago. You don't want to overcomplicate the beer, especially a beer like this where the focus really is on the malt profile.
Sure.
Yes.
Sure.
And I think when you talk about it versus reduction ratio, which we've done really well with, and that was a beer that I feel like I've been working on this beer for freaking ever. And it also
and reduction ratio, so that everyone's following along, that's the Imperial Stout
exactly
that you make, that has won both GABF and World Beer Cup medals over the last 12 months.
And that's been also kind of a surprise. And of course, every time I tweak it so it's not the same exact recipe that I've done over and over, but we even had it at 10 barrel, and it was like my go-to for barrel aged stuff because it's just consistent and it ages really well and it's beautiful in barrels. And at one point we pulled it out because I did have a library there, pulled it out for Oregon Beer Awards, and it got a gold, and I was like, what?
I think it was 2.5 years old at that point.
Yeah, like super old. And I was like, oh, maybe there's something to this. But we've definitely over time kind of decreased the hops on that to make it more drinkable, younger, so we don't have to sit on it as long.
Exactly.
And it's just a really flavorful beer that works in a lot of things. You can fruit it, you can barrel age it, like it's versatile.
All right, well, let's talk about Imperial Stout and some of the fundamentals of that in that kind of flexible way. Before we do that, Breeze Malting has been supplying craft brewers with the highest quality base and specialty malts since the early 1980s. As Breeze celebrates their 150th anniversary this year, they're proud to remain a fifth-generation family-owned company. They love to support the creativity and passion in craft brewing that results in amazing beers. All Breeze malts are made in America, so you can count on a reliable supply chain. Barley is sourced from 300 growers in the Bighorn Basin of Wyoming and Montana, plus technical support is available through their Center of Malting Excellence. With 150 years of malting expertise, check out why so many craft brewers trust Breeze for their specialty malt at brewingwithbreeze.com. This morning when I was over at Deschutes, lots of big super sacks of Breeze malt over there. So, they've got some fantastic customers and brewers making awesome beers with it. Also, this episode is brought to you by Y Yeast Laboratories. If you've brewed with Y Yeast's 1056 American Ale, you've brewed with the strain that helped build craft beer from the ground up. 4 decades later, it's still one of the most used strains in the country, delivering the same quality and consistency. These legendary liquid yeast providers are celebrating their 40th anniversary alongside America's 250th this 4th of July. And as part of the July celebration, they're offering 10% off every order of 1056 American Ale scheduled by today, July 31st, and shipped by August 30th. Already have an order in that window? Don't worry, your discount will be automatically applied. Here's to 40 years of living culture and best in craft liquid yeast. Check out the anniversary at yyeastlab.com. All right, so where do we start on Imperial Stout? You've mentioned this goal is twofold. One, for a standalone beer. Two, to be a great beer that can age. You've mentioned that the aging portion of that probably gets more hops, that the standalone version now, you've been pulling those hops down. But give me some of the kind of broad specs in terms of ABV, in terms of finishing gravity, and and then maybe like what some of the sensory goal is, just from a kind of language perspective.
Okay, you're testing my memory right now. I want to say that it's around 9 or 9.5.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's 9.4, 9.5.
Yeah. I can't remember exactly right off the top of my head. But also kind of taking that same idea of increasing the pH at knockout. So knockout, the goal is around 5.4. This one leans more Golden Promise. Still has kind of everything that...
Why does it lean more Golden Promise?
I just like that.
You find that even comes through, even in a stout that's just big.
I think it do. It's a nice nuttiness.
Chewy nuttiness, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I love it. I don't get the chance to use Golden Promise very often, but this is one place where if it's going anywhere, it's going here.
What's the base malt in Pinball Wizard?
That is... so we've been using Lowlocks. So it's just a 2-row.
From Prairie Malt.
Yeah.
And the theory is that it's it helps reduce oxidation in beer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Downline?
we've been just because we have a limited space, it's kind of become our default 2-row. However, it does have a little bit of golden promise in that as well, but just less of a percentage.
Yeah,
whereas reduction ratio is primarily golden promise. In looking at the two recipes kind of back to back, the reduction ratio has a fair amount of Thomas Fawcett pale chocolate and Thomas Fawcett pale amber, and I think that kind of gives it some depth that, for me, those malts are kind of hard to use because they do add a certain astringency in and of themselves and can be a little harsh. And so figuring out a beer that's big enough to use them in,
I was going to say, a beer any smaller than this, it'd be rough in.
Yeah.
It'd be rough.
Yeah. But you kind of need that
Yeah.
in a Russian Imperial Stout. You kind of need that roughness. You need it to.
Right.
I think of it as a little bit punk rock. Like it needs to be a little hard to drink.
Like she said, Russian Imperial Stout. This was originally, way back in the day, designed somewhat after Rasputin.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like, if you've ever had a Rasputin, especially when it's young, it's just like, holy shit. like high IBUs, high alcohol, high roast, everything is kind of rough and in your face. But we found with time that the beer aged out beautifully. So with reduction ratio, Tonya has been trying, like you were saying, to get it so that we don't have to wait over a year to be able to drink it.
I have fond memories of drinking old Rasputin about 19. First time I had it was probably 1995.
Yes.
I just love that beer.
I love that. Yeah, and it felt so different.
Oh my God! It just grabs you. You're just like, oh, that's a beer.
Yeah. And that's what's punk rock.
That is punk rock.
Helps us define our superior tastes against the middling tastes of all of those average beer drinkers. But tell me about these Fawcett malts again. In terms of you're riding the line of astringency and danger. How do you push up to that kind of danger zone but not go over it?
It's brewing this over and over and over and figuring out where that sweet spot is, and then also just looking at judging notes. Exactly.
Okay.
Like the continual tweak that we do on everything, tasting it, figuring out like right now we're working on a dark lager. Like, where did all that toastiness come from? Really don't want that. Let's figure out how to get it out the next time.
Yeah.
So it's just continual tweaking.
Sure. And then from a sensory standpoint, when you were designing the recipe, did you think about the end goal that you were trying to achieve and then write a recipe towards it? Did you look at what the similar recipes might be and then start brewing, or is it just this constant iterative process that eventually gets you there? I mean, you kind of know, but then you also seem to work on this process of feedback and adjustment.
So this beer started off its little life as a Pro-Am with Ted Hosseter.
Oh, cool.
And that's back at Ben Brewing Company, long ago. That's how
16 years ago.
I've been kind of
oh my goodness.
playing with this beer. But
Yeah,
I mean, realistically, I brew it once a year. So it's remembering, writing notes. Notes are very essential in my world.
Number 16 now, yeah.
Exactly. And so, at Ten Barrel, I was able to probably do it twice a year for a while, but it was just to fill barrels.
Yeah, we had a bigger barrel program there, so it was a great base beer for the barrel program.
How tell me about this, adjusting bitterness, especially given the potential aging or barreling versus now, drinking it when it's a little bit younger.
I mean,
more rapid aging, which is called rapid aging these days.
Yeah.
Designed aging.
By now, so decreasing the hops is just essential for us where we're at right now, and just making this beer more drinkable earlier. I do like it with the hops in it up front and then letting those kind of age out because it does add some sensory expression that you don't get otherwise, but I don't think it's enough to brew it here and have it sit around. We just don't have
justify
the space.
storing it somewhere and paying for storage.
Yeah.
Right. Not having that beer library, that giant cold box where you can just
I wish
tuck
I had
things
that
in there.
big warehouse
I
still.
loved that.
Well, it's in terms of kind of overall bitterness. Do you put numbers to it? How do you think about that bitterness? Because now, you can measure IBU obviously from hop contribution, but you've also got roastiness adding to this kind of perception of bitterness. So you have to start doing a little bit of mental calculation in your own brain that isn't exactly quantifiable.
Absolutely. And so we did feel like the pale chocolate and the amber malt definitely contributed to that kind of bitterness perception. So I'm looking at my last batch that I did.
And pale chocolate, huh?
Yes, it's
Okay.
very astringent.
Yeah.
It definitely is not a paler version of chocolate, I don't think. I feel like it's a completely different malt. And I think, so right now I'm down to 56 IBUs, and that has definitely helped. I'm probably down from 80?
I was going to say 80.
Yeah.
Yeah, that used to be the old
Wow.
target. But,
Yeah. All right.
but like we said, we were planning on sitting on it for a year, and we had the previous year's batch ready to go to send to competition or to send to the pubs.
Yeah, there's always an overlap.
Yeah.
So now we don't have that
had
cushion.
that luxury back in the day. A lot of my Berliners that went to competition were a year old.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I found that
Year-old Berliners to competition.
Oh.
They've won
Lots of
multiple times at a year old. There is a sulfur compound that is created in sour fermentations that while it's not in your face, I think it smooths out over time. And if your processes are good, just put it in a keg and wait on it.
Yep.
It's incredibly counterintuitive given some of the volatile and fleeting nature of some of these fruit flavors and their compounds.
This would be your
Just the base.
traditional Berliner.
Okay,
Traditional. Even the Goza is going to lose a little bit if you're using coriander in it. But, but a Berliner base, it's pretty nice after some age.
Huh. I guess those
Secrets.
Berlin brewers knew what they were doing and designing these beers that were going to still sit around in that kind of way all of those years ago.
Yeah, those beers just have an amazing shelf life, and
They do.
I love that about them.
Yep.
Fascinating. So anything else to the stout, or else I just want to, maybe we should just keep talking about how you age Berliner Weisses before everything.
One thing that's nice about this place is I think that a lot of people who love sours. I think there might be one at every brewery, but not necessarily many to choose from. And people have really liked that about here. They come and they seek out those beers that we do.
And it doesn't hurt that they the lineage of these Berliner Weisses and Goza inspired beers have won just an enormous amount of medals in every major beer competition.
We have
around
been
the
very
globe.
fortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really have. And
It's a very humble way of putting it.
yeah, Ian and I have kept the same culture alive for how many years now?
I want to say 17 years. This lactobacillus culture has been alive. It was started at Ben Brewing Company. Probably got some of the funk out of that brewery, which was a what would you say, terroir of
Exactly.
of its flavor. We actually did send it into a lab and had
AB.
it checked out and
It was-
twice and it changed.
Yeah, it was full of all kinds of stuff. It
Yes.
wasn't just a single
just wasn't-
culture,
Right.
which I think is what gives it its depth. It had some
Yeah,
wild
absolutely.
yeast in there.
Really?
It did. It had a saison. Because you got to figure it has to be a
Yeah.
yeast that can perform at 113.
10. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So it did pick that up over the years, and I think that's why we love it so much. And it
wild
does
yeast
change.
in it. Well, I'm trying to think about something in that kind of Norwegian farmhouse realm. Would those yeasts
Quite possibly.
love?
Yeah, quite
They
possibly.
love that nice high temperature.
Yep.
Huh. Interesting. And so 17 years, that culture started at Bend Brewing when you were brewing there, and then went to 10 Barrel with you over there.
And then I think both of us killed it at some point and got it from each other.
Yeah. When I was, to go into history, I was Tonya's assistant at Ben Brewing Company when I first cut my teeth in the brewing industry. And I took over as head brewer when she went to 10 Barrels. So we were still both doing sours, but we were both doing them on our own at separate breweries. And when she would kill the culture, she'd be like, hey, buddy,
Can I have that
can
back?
I get a little bit of that culture back? And
Well,
same. Like
For a long time, we were like sharing back and forth the same keg.
Yes. Yeah.
And then I was like, wait a minute, we should divide this so we both have it.
yeah,
and
just
luckily,
in case we don't kill it.
Yeah. And so now we are also probably 10 Barrels fallback if they kill it.
Yes.
Because it does happen.
They're still making that?
I think a little bit.
So you had the culture analyzed by, which, again, there's some benefit of that AB ownership that they have really some phenomenal scientists.
They do. Very smart yeast people.
Yeah.
And
I may decry what their distribution folks do on a state-by-state basis and lobbying against the interests of craft brewers. I think that's where my primary disagreement with that entire company comes, as they work against the interests of small and independent craft brewers on a state-by-state basis. That's where we've got to fight. But on the brewing side, lots of smart people, lots of very earnest people who care about making great beer and care about making consistent beer, and also sharing in that like broader learning that the industry goes through year after year after year.
yeah, especially when 10 Barrel was initially purchased, there was just these pockets of enthusiasm that were amazing. And people were so excited about the
Right.
stuff that I was doing, which made me excited because you're always excited about people who
Sure,
are excited
sure.
about you.
The moment where they took over the South African hop farms, tried to cut them off from everybody, I was a little pissed about that one too. But then they came around, and now, anyway, they weren't,
Yeah, now you can get the hops.
Now anyone can get those hops.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's back again because enough AB brewers didn't want them that craft brewers have that access.
Well, they have a big library of hops that they have to work through. So
Sure. So tell me about that culture itself then, and then how it has changed over the years. That's kind of fascinating to me that it continues to make award-winning beer, even though it's clearly it's a living culture.
it does ebb and flow, and I think there are batches where we're not as happy with it as we have been in the past, for sure. It goes up and down.
Are there
But for
some
the most part,
environmental reasons for that? Have you been able to tease any of that out?
I can't really put my finger on it. There are some batches that will when you kick on the kettle, it'll look like champagne because some sort of fermentation has been happening in there. And then there's other batches where it's just like, I'm sour in 12 hours.
exactly.
And I'm literally sour to like 0.8 TA, which is amazing to have
Yeah.
a culture sour that freaking quickly.
Yeah. Anything over 1, it doesn't like, but
Yeah.
it will go up to 0.8. No
And
problem.
it'll get there fast if you use it a lot. It's all about
Frequency.
exactly.
Huh.
Yeah, the more we use it, the more crazy it gets. And I almost feel like the more we use it, it kind of gets a little one-dimensional too.
It does. Sometimes it's better for it to sit for a month or two. And the crazy thing about our culture is there have been times where it's sat for 8 months.
Mm-hmm.
Comes right back. Sure, the souring is a little bit lag,
Slower.
but we're talking like 6 hours slower.
How do you store that culture for 8 months?
We store it at room temp.
Really?
In a keg.
Yeah. Yep.
Just in a brink.
Sitting in the brewery.
Everybody's like, oh, you got to put that in the cooler. No.
Room temperature.
Not ours.
Room temp.
Ours likes room temp.
Yep.
It doesn't like the cooler.
It'll build up a lot of pressure. You do have to blow down the pressure,
Yeah.
but even high pressure doesn't seem to bother it that much.
Yeah.
How many different lactose strains are in this culture?
I want to say there was about 5 when we had it looked at, and certainly those changed. Which one was dominant?
Right.
I think we looked at it 2 or 3 different times, and it was different. The dominant was different every single time.
Huh.
So it's just one of those things. It just morphs
So even
and
if a
changes.
yeast company were to come and try to,
So
grab your culture.
So we tried.
Yeah.
We tried to bank it at AB, and They did bank it. However, when they went back to select the colonies, they would only select like one colony or two colonies. They didn't select for all the different things that was on that plate.
Oh.
So it came back being super one-dimensional, and we didn't like it at all.
So it needs some of the like marginal, weird, funky things that are also in there in addition to the lacto in order to truly give you the full experience.
Exactly. It has its own little community going on, and somehow it makes good beer every time.
Yeah. Until it dies, and then you've got to... so
then we'll figure it out.
Is there someone else who has that? I guess 10 Barrel still has that culture. Yeah. All right, we're going to maintain good relationships with 10 Barrel then, in the meantime.
They're our friends.
Yeah.
Sure. So then in that kind of sour and Berliner Weiss and Goza, kind of realm, anything that you are playing with and experimenting with now and continuing to learn? I mean, you still are continuing to win medals in those things, but, are you pushing that in any kind of direction now? Understanding that, in this kind of up context, the last year has just also been a process of learning this brewery and new customers and all of those things too.
Exactly. I think we play with flavor combinations a lot. I mean, the base beers we have down, and sometimes we'll like split a batch and do 2 different beers out of a batch just for convenience, and because we don't have a lot of storage and we like to have different things on tap all the time. But I think one of the most unique combinations that we've played with, and we've been doing this for a while, Jose, who's one of our partners, he loves chili beers, and so he's kind of experimented with different fruit and chilies, and it's just such a great play with the sweet, the sour, and the heat that I love those beers. And we do have a following for them when they're on. However, they have not resonated on the judging table.
Yeah, at competition they don't hit, but they are mind-blowing.
They're so good.
It's like putting a 9-volt battery to your tongue because it's got that like electricity from the sourness, the heat. I think maybe part of the reason they haven't hit at competition yet is like we do have to kind of restrain the heat so that you can get the balance between like the fruit sweetness, sour, little bit of habanero heat, but man, they're so cool.
Yeah, I love those beers. When they're on, that's all I drink.
Yeah, and it's surprising how many of our customers will actually, everybody dreads putting on the chili beer. Like, oh shit, we're going to be sitting on that for 6 months. These actually move pretty quick.
I'm pretty sure that all of the judges in the chili beer category are first-year judges for the major competitions.
That's
we gotta
punishment.
We got to haze the newbies on this one.
Yeah.
You got to judge chili beer.
Hey, you're getting chili beer and then coffee beer after that.
Yeah. I have judged chili beer before, and it's one of those ones I think I should ask. Should request again just to see what kind of are resonating on those tables at this point, because for whatever reason that beer has made it to the final table, but not recently.
It's never hit.
Yeah, it's never hit.
Well, that's a good segue to talk about kind of competition, optimization, strategy. You're now in the season, and we don't talk about this a lot. Like we love to focus on making beer, and competitions fall the way that they may, but you have a particular success in competition, and that success doesn't happen generally by accident. It's very purposeful. There's a lot of intention that goes into it, and so maybe talk about your approach to competitions, because you also use it as potential learning, or sometimes you look at that judge notes, and you've developed a way to know what to pay attention to, what not to pay attention to, what's distracting and what is valuable there, and and then how to aggregate enough of that feedback from different kinds of contexts to think about what that means. And then also you have to triangulate, because most of this judging is done, especially at World Beer Cup and Great American Beer Festival, by fellow brewers. And so they also have a bias potentially as brewers that might be a little bit different than a bias as consumers. Talk a little bit about your overall competitive philosophy and approach to competitions.
Well, I think for me, the biggest advantage I have is being a judge. I can remember in 2008 when I was at Ben Brewing Company, I won Small Brewery of the Year, and immediately there were like maybe 4 women judging at that point. So they sought me out and they said, we want you to be a judge. And I kind of balked at it because it's kind of that inexperience, like, oh God, I don't feel like I'm ready for this. And someone told me it would make me a better brewer. And I scoffed at it a little bit, but it's true. It really does. To have all of those beers in front of you at what the brewer considers to be tip-top shape. You don't get that. You can't go to the grocery store and get that. We've tried. You can't.
Yeah.
But it definitely allows you to see what shines on the table compared to others, because you can taste one of your beers and think it's the best in the world, and then you taste it compared to another example that's in just as good a shape, and you'll see your flaws. You'll see if it's not hoppy enough. You'll see if it has, like a sulfur component. It'll pop. And so for me, that's been a huge advantage. And then I think it's just our persistency. We do enter a fair amount of smaller competitions, and so we'll fish. We'll enter things in there. Like, this competition's $40. Like, why not send everything to it, because you can, and just get the feedback and then taste your beer. Don't let your beer run out before you get those judge notes back. Save some of those bottles.
Yeah, absolutely. Every time we go to competition, we bottle like 4 cases, even though we need to send 6 beers.
And we have them. We have them from World Beer Cup
yeah,
still.
They're still sitting in
and
the cooler
so
right
we'll
now.
Pull some of those out. I mean, certain ones will last, certain ones won't. But we'll pull those out and taste them right before and say, okay, where were we at with this batch? How did it age? How is it tasting now? Is it something that we do have a keg or 2 in the library and we can pull out because this one tastes amazing? That one still should too. So yeah, it's all about those kind of maddening details. And I think we're also really good at packaging. And so many times people say this is a packaging competition, but you know what? We package on a counter pressure homebrew filler.
Yeah, we do everything by hand when it comes to competition. Counter pressure filler. Take your time. Do it real slow. It's painfully slow. Oh my God.
Exactly.
Especially like I just said, we do like 4 cases of every one of our entries. And
sometimes
back in the
multiples.
day, we would do like 20 entries at
Do you
10,
fill
10
with-
barrel. That would be weeks
Do you
of
use a
me
counter pressure
bottling.
filler? Do you purge into like a cooler so that you have a layer of CO2 that you're then filling within, or
So I can show it to you, but it's like 4 counter pressure on a cart.
Yeah, we had a cart fabricated that has trapdoors so that you can drop the bottle out of it and move on
Okay.
to the next one. But no, nothing crazy different about the bottling process other than like extra time purging, real slow fill, ping, cap on foam.
Yeah. And I think for me, in my mind, it makes more sense to go 22-ounce bottles, even though they're kind of hard to find right now.
Yeah.
But 22-ounce bottles, because in my mind, and I could be totally wrong, but in my mind, like the potential air ingress per surface
Like
volume is
volume
less.
to head
Right.
space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that I've thought about that quite a bit, and I think there is something to that. By the time you pour it, and it's so funny when we are doing reviews for the magazine, I always pour off that very first bit of anything just in case whatever was sitting at the top of that can or that bottle does have some extra. And I don't know that proximity to that headspace has any actual impact on the way that it tastes. It probably doesn't, but just in case it does, I'm going to pour that off, and I think it kind of fits that same kind of thing. Your volume to contact space with that contact with that headspace is so small with a 22-ounce bottle.
Exactly. And if it's something that we feel like we're going to hold for a competition, because we will do that as well. So, like North American Beer Awards, I love the feedback there. It's also a super cheap thing to enter. It's for charity. So we'll enter more than we normally would at a different competition. But what we do is we'll put just a thin layer of wax on those tops, just because we aren't necessarily brewing special beers or packaging special beers for that. They're holdovers from World Beer Cup and Oregon Beer Awards. And that helps the kind of the longevity of those bottles.
Yeah, you got to strategize, like, how many beers can you actually brew and sell through your pub? And those that do have longer shelf life, might as well bottle up a bunch of them and hope that they last to the next competition and the next competition.
Exactly, because sometimes it's just like a Tetris thing. Like you're trying to figure out, how can I get this beer in? And you're looking at the lineup for the pub. I mean, that's what we're doing right now with GABF. Like, okay, do we really need a rice lager in the fall?
Sure.
But I really want to enter it. Like...
it's July. Let's do more double stouts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
you can't.
We at Craft Beer and Brewing try to make it easier on you by aligning our IPA issue deadline
Appreciate
with
that.
World Beer Cup. And it's the same week as World Beer Cup. And our Best in Beer issue every year is the same deadline as Great America Beer Festival. Because
it does make it
you guys
easier.
are making competition batches. Like it makes sense to keep that aligned so that it's not harder for you to have waxed bottles and save them to make those submissions.
Exactly. And you want the best beer possible as well. So it makes sense that you would go through that extra effort.
It should be the nature of, this kind of, if we're going to evaluate, we want to evaluate the best versions, of brewers, what brewers have intended to make that showcases the best of what they can do. And that's what we should be judging.
Exactly.
All right. So how do you win so many medals, Tonya?
I don't know. Very persistent. I don't have an explanation for that. I think some of it might be our category choice because
I was going to say there's some strategy to category choice, and it changes every year, which we just found out yesterday.
As the categories
we have
change.
to look at sour categories again.
Like, oh no, those are separated now.
Combined two of your categories into one.
Exactly. And I will say, you mentioned the category sweep that we did at 10 Barrel. That was an amazing thing because that was not on my radar. I would not have done that.
I told her to.
That goes to Ian. Ian had been winning consistently with 2 beers.
Yes, I've been winning with a couple of beers for a very long time.
Like
but
one would hit, the other would hit, and he's like, it's just a matter of time before they both hit. You should pull German Sparkle Party back and redo it. And
my presentation was more, we're very good at this one thing.
We are.
Very good at it. Sure, we're very good at a lot of beers, but we're very good at sours. And I was like, this is the year that, why don't we put it right in the judge's face so that when they're judging, they're going to be like, God damn, this one's good. Wow, that one's really good too. And that one's really good. And the judges won't know that we've elevated all of the beers by tripling down in a category. So that we actually set the standard. And that was my theory. And it paid off.
And I said yes. And I brewed German Sparkle Party, which I hadn't brewed in 8 years. And I brewed it as is. Like, I didn't change the recipe at all. We knew that it was a little hoppier than what we were doing. And then when it was all said and done, and we had all 3 of them, so it was 2 Berliners and 1 Goza in front of us, we're like, oh, German Sparkle Party is too hoppy.
We're like, this one is so
different. Is not gonna fly.
One of these beers is doing its own thing.
Exactly. And wrote it off. So when it meddled, I freaked out because I was like, in my mind, that wasn't going to happen. I was like, oh my gosh, Ian finally hit with his 2 beers. And then they announced German Sparkle Party. And I was like, no way. That beer we just felt like should not have won. And in talking to the people that were on that table, just because I am in the judge realm and I do talk to them, they're like so mystified that those 3 beers were from the same brewery because they were all so different.
Yeah.
Which is fun, right? That's why we do this. Is we do have different sides to us. It doesn't have to be the same base recipe, just
absolutely,
put with different names.
We've kind of perfected that process, at least in our world. So it's fun to be able to be like, well, obviously we got the souring thing down, so let's tweak the base recipe here. Let's change the hopping, the titratable acidity of how sour we want it to be, the finishing gravity. So it allows us to come up with all these different products out of what we just do.
And I will say
now.
Recently, we've kind of, and we did this a tad bit at 10 Barrel, but more out of like necessity at the moment. But now we're brewing like a base beer that's a higher total acidity and one that's lower, and then we can blend those in different proportions to get completely different beers out of it. So it lends to some flexibility, and it lends when we have an idea of what we want that total acidity to be. When you're trying to figure out like what's going to complement the fruit the best, it gives us the flexibility to do that. And then if we blend it and we realize, oh yeah, we should have gone with a higher TA, we still have that base that we can blend in and figure it out that way.
That makes sense. Well, we've been talking for a while now. You've gone from Bend Brewing to 10 Barrel Brewing, and now here at Up Liquids. Some of the beers have come along with you all the way. Both of you all have come along the way. The two of you have followed and kind of come together through these varying things. You all approach brewing not just as a job, but also as a community, and working together also matters to you. What do the next 3 years and the next 5 years look like for you? It's hard to say because this is still pretty fresh.
It is.
But what do you hope to achieve in the next 3 to 5 years?
It's still super fresh. I set that goal to hit 1,000 barrels this year, which is a big step up from where we started. I don't think we're out to conquer the world. I really don't. There's this sweet spot right around. I'd love to see 2,500 barrels. We couldn't do it out of this facility, but there seems to be that regional player sweet spot that we would love to be, where you're not just pumping out your flagships. You still have that element of innovation. I don't think either of us would be happy if all the innovation went away and we became production brewers here. So my goal personally is to draw more people into the pub and keep them excited with variety of beer. Right now we have so much variety of beer that like storing, like Tonya's saying, like we store some bases so that we can come up with new things is becoming the issue. But yeah, like 3 years from now, I would just love to see us making more of the beer that we love, really getting enough people in the door that we can make a mark in Central Oregon.
Yeah, and I think we're actively looking for a second location that's just more of a tasting room instead of having a full restaurant. Restaurant has certainly been a challenge for us because we're not really restaurant people, but we're learning.
Yeah, it's a challenge.
We are learning quickly as possible. So really having some secondary outlets that we can, kind of maximize our profits off our own bar.
Sure. Any beer goals for you in the near future?
Beer goals, I think.
What's GABF going to look like for you? We're World Beer Cup next year.
That's a secret. You told me I could throw that line at some point.
No, I told you could tell me to fuck off. That's what I told you.
Sir, could you please fuck off. No, honestly, our heads are spinning right now. We don't know what we're sending to World Beer Cup at this point. Today is the deadline for Great American Beer Festival, and we still
the early bird.
And we still haven't
have time.
entered because we don't know.
Yes.
We're pretty proud of all of our beers. There is that strategy that we were talking about. We want to discuss that a bit more because it is expensive to enter these competitions. But I don't know what I'm sending next year.
Yeah, definitely. We'll look back over the notes from the year before of beers that we're thinking about sending that we have sent, or however that goes. But it's a lot of just gut instinct, looking back, looking at how many entries were in each category, figuring what are our chances. I think for us, normally we do really well because we produce really clean beer, so we don't have the flaws to kind of fight through.
Right.
And I think that really is, I know people say it's a packaging competition, but it's also a flaw competition.
It
If
is.
you're flawed, you're off the table immediately.
Yeah, if you can make it to past round one, your odds increase exponentially.
Yeah, and I think that, a lot of people don't count that as a win if they move to the second round, but sometimes the hardest part is getting past first round.
Yes.
After that, you have a really good shot.
Yeah.
Even in some of the larger categories, your odds improve so much just getting past that first round.
Yeah. I've seen that too. I'll be judging the Best of the West competition this weekend. And I love judging competitions that Ben Edmonds runs because he's got a good methodology there. And you're right. You start looking at a flight and what's the bottom 40%?
Exactly.
We got if we have 10 beers here, what are the 4 that just you're going to find and they go immediately. And then usually from there, the next step is what are our top beers? And usually there's probably 2 of them that are going to just stand out.
Exactly.
And now you're choosing your 2. And those are usually pretty clear also what the best 2 of those remaining 6 are. And then you end up in the hardest fight of all, which is, with those remaining 3 beers, which one of those is the third beer that you put forward? And ultimately, it's less important because, unless that is a medal round. But, it's so interesting that, the decisions become more clear when you approach it in this kind of methodical way. Of
Exactly.
It's interesting that third beer, the one that you're we've had that one be our gold medal winner.
Absolutely.
Many
Really?
times.
Well,
you see it in the notes. I suppose I will move this one on gold medal.
yes. I mean, there have been times I'm how did I get past the first round? This one person hated this beer so badly, and then it got gold
Yeah.
at World Beer
Yeah,
Cup.
it's always just that one
it has
person.
happened.
Yeah.
That one
And you're
person.
oh, they hated me, but this person loved me.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
That's the nature of beer, right? Some things that, taste is personal, and, our own body chemistries and our own sense of flavor are, very individual.
Yeah.
And it's only in this kind of aggregate kind of thing that we come up with, some idea of what's great.
Exactly. And, having judged and then listened to the feedback at Oregon Beer Awards, that really helps because everything's audio and it's judged by multiple tables, which is a long time when you listen to the notes.
Yeah.
It is definitely a commitment, but you really do get feedback, actual conversation from the table
Right,
that you wouldn't
right.
get anywhere else, and that has been super beneficial. And I know Ben has kind of influenced other competitions across the country that have kind of taken this on as well. And so if you can get in one of those competitions, definitely do it. And if you can judge it, I think a lot of people are worried about judging those competitions because they're oh, someone's going to recognize my voice. I've been judging OBA from the beginning, and yes, people recognize my voice, but no one's ever come and said, oh, you did this, you said this about my beer.
I come and judge Ben's competitions to learn from him and to experience it for that same kind of reason, because I am also a student of beer judging.
Exactly. And
beer
the
evaluation.
caliber of judges
Absolutely.
here in Oregon is so high.
Yeah.
And and to me, anytime I judge, anytime I go to like the craft brewers conference, at this point, I've been to them so many times and I've judged so many times that when I do get that little knowledge nugget, it's so special. It's like, this is why I came. When I judge a competition, I am looking for that inspirational beer that is going to make me want to go back and either change something that I already have made, or it's going to give me a new like flavor combination or a new style that I hadn't thought of, just a new challenge. Like, that's my goal. If I don't get one, I'm a little pissy, but usually there's a few. And I keep notes. I go back year after year and look at those notes and say, maybe I forgot about a flavor combination, or maybe this one flavor combination's just been in the peripheral forever and I haven't made it. Like, what's going to make me pull the trigger on that?
Sure. Well, this is a great place to bring it to a close, because we could just talk forever about these kinds of competition dynamics. But, everyone's got to get on with their day. I got to make it back to Portland and get set up for judging tomorrow and doing all of that stuff. G&D's Elite 290 Micro Series is built for brewers who care about sustainability and performance. Berkeley Yeast's Fresh Chico is now available dry. PacTex handles are made from 100% recycled plastic and are fully recyclable. Indie Hop's Lorient has found its way into the hearts of lager lovers across the country. The Midea 50/50 Flex can convert to all fridge, all freezer, or half and half with just the touch of a button. Check out why so many craft brewers trust Breeze for their specialty malt, and celebrate Y Yeast's 40th anniversary with 10% off every order of 1056 American Ale placed by July 31st. If you've enjoyed this episode, go to beerandbrewing.com, click on that subscribe button, and if you are a professional brewer out there, become an all-access subscriber where you can send us 12 beers a year to the magazine for review, and you get both the Brewing Industry Guide and Craft Beer and Brewing magazine. And if you're a Brewing Industry Guide subscriber, you get to read this cover story on Up Liquids with the team here and get more of the background and some beautiful photos along with that. Tonya, Nina, if people want to learn more about Up Liquids and the beers you are making here in Bend, where can they find out more about you?
Well, you can definitely go to our website, upliquids.com, but I really think that you should follow us on Instagram. We will put a smile on your face every day.
I think you're going to do better by just coming down here and drink a beer.
Yeah, I think so too.
You should definitely do that.
Come by
too.
and visit.
Great talking with both of you all. Cheers.
Cheers.
This podcast has been brought to you by Craft Beer and Brewing Magazine for those who love to make and drink great beer. To learn more or to subscribe, visit beerandbrewing.com or find us on social media at Craft Beer Brew.